Hey, welcome to the tavern. Tonight we're going to make one of my favorite 18th century drinks, sometimes for the winter, sometimes not for the winter. We're going to be making a flip. Flip's a bit of an interesting drink, kind of a proto eggnog, maybe not, but it gets its name because you're actually going to flip the beverage, which is a little bit interesting. So the original recipe for this, by the way, most of it calls to make a quart. We're not going to make a quart. We're going to size it down, make it a normal size drink. So that way you are not on the ground by the end of it. But we are going to make this a little fun. We're not going to use modern technology for all this. We are going to use 18th century stuff. So what you're going to need for this, you're going to need 1 ounce of rum. I tend to use a Haitian rum. You're going to need a beer, 12 ounces. I'm from Maryland, so tonight we're using a Chesapeake Bay brown ale. You do want something brown, you do want something nice and malty. It tastes a lot better. You also need 1 egg. You need some sugar. I've got it here in a cone. You're going to need 1 ounce of sugar. That's about 6 teaspoons, so that is quite a good deal. I think that's honestly a little too much. Sometimes I use a little bit less. You're also going to need a nutmeg. Don't buy the pre-ground stuff. Get the whole nutmegs if you can. And a grater. Then you are also going to need, in terms of tools, you're going to need a whisk. You're going to need 2 rather large vessels to do the flipping. And then you're going to need a fire. That's not pictured here tonight, although I'm using mostly 18th century stuff. I don't have a fire that I can just go warm my beer next to. So I'm going to do it on a hot plate. Anyway, pretty simple. First thing you're going to do, you are going to crack your egg. And you are going to put that whole egg, yolk and all, into one of your vessels. I'm using farm grazed one, so I'm going to try not to get any shell in there. But you're going to take that and you're going to put that in there. And the next thing you're going to do is grab your sugar, and I'm just eyeballing it here. Like I said, it's 1 ounce, 6 teaspoons. It's quite a bunch. I'm going to use some original 18th century sugar nips to get all this stuff in here. But you're just kind of going to go and get as close to it as you can. Honestly, after about 3 teaspoons, it tastes pretty sweet. You don't need a ton. Now some, they get sugar everywhere. Some original recipes also call for milk or cream in them. I really don't think you need it. As we actually go and flip this, you're going to see that there's quite a good deal of frothiness in there, but you really don't need that cream. If you do, make sure you pay attention to the next step where we actually talk about mixing the booze and the beer, because you want to make sure to keep that separate from your other stuff. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to whisk up this egg and sugar mixture. We're going to get it as nice and frothy as we can. So you're essentially kind of just making a custard in this guy, getting that egg nice and mixed, getting that sugar all mixed in there as well, getting it nice and frothy, just like you would do if you're making scrambled eggs. That's looking pretty good. And then to that, we are going to add some nutmeg. So get that nice fresh nutmeg. Yeah, about 10 will do. Just get it kind of nice and fragrant, then get it mixed in. Now, the next thing we're going to do, and this is very important, especially if you're adding cream. Some of the original recipes talk about adding the rum to this. Don't add the rum to this, especially if you're using dairy, because if you add the dairy to it, you're going to curdle it. It's not going to be fun. Put your rum in your other container that you're going to add your beer to. I'm going to go warm this beer up. You're going to get it just till it's steaming in the pot. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So I have heated up 12 ounces of beer. I've got a nice brown ale in there. You really can't see it. But in here, again, I got my rum, I got my beer. You got all your alcohol in here. In this spot, I've just got the egg, the sugar, and my spices. Now this is the most important part because now we are going to flip this. And I'm going to try to attempt to do it without making a mess. This is the most important step of this entire thing. And the reason it's incredibly important and the reason you want to do it is so that way you don't end up with a really nasty, chewy drink, because you've just put a whole egg in here. If you immediately just add hot beer to some egg and sugar and suspension, you're going to cook that egg. And then you're going to have a really nasty drink because you're going to be chewing it, and no one wants that. Some period recipes, they talk about flipping this 40, sometimes even more times. It's going to get of it a really nice creamy consistency, but also it's going to warm up that egg in a slow way, so that way you're not chewing this drink. Now, if you do screw it up, you could strain it. You could get out those little egg chunks if you wanted to. But if you do it correctly, you really don't need to. One of the fun things about flip, by the way, is there are these things called flip irons. We know they existed. They just kind of look like big old red hot pokers. And there are some people that say that, okay, well, after you flipped it and you've added everything, you're going to heat up that red hot iron and you're going to put it in the glass, or you're going to mix all of this together and then you're going to add that red hot iron to there. That's still kind of going to cook the egg, in my opinion. I have never actually seen a period recipe that talks about sticking a red hot poker in there. They do talk about warming your beer next to the fire. They do talk about getting your beer warm, but I've never actually seen one that says you're going to stick that red hot poker in there at the end. Maybe they were using them to just kind of like flash heat their beer, make it nice and frothy before they begin the flipping stage of this. But I've never actually seen anything in writing that says, hey, this is what we're doing. I have no idea how many times I've done this, but we've got a nice froth on this, and you can kind of see. We also made quite a good deal of a mess. So anyway, let me clean this up for a second. So now I've got a nice frothy flip. I hopefully have not cooked my eggs because I've been paying more attention to talking on this video than actually making this. I'm going to pour this into a tumbler so you can see it. But you've got this nice brown consistency. It's got some froth on top. It's got a nice full smell to it. It's very nutty. Great flavor. It's warm. It's a little boozy. It's not overly boozy, but it's a great winter drink. So that's how you do a flip. If you want to get adventurous, maybe put a little bit of grated nutmeg on there for garnish. But as you can see, nice little drink. Lots of fun. Great in the winter. Enjoy.